You ever have that feeling, like something is watching you from the dark? But you can't prove it? Because when you try to explain it later, people just look at you like you're exaggerating. This story is that kind of nightmare. Story 1, the screams that wouldn't get closer. One summer night, around midnight, maybe a little after, I was heading home from work on my usual route. My town is quiet, boring, even. And the roads, they go through stretches of woods like they're swallowed by the landscape. I was driving a convertible with the top down. Because it was midsummer. Around 75 degrees. No reason to be scared. I had my speed steady, cruising at about 50. When suddenly, a loud, blood-curdling woman's scream. It sounded like it came from one side of the road. I slammed on the brakes and stopped so fast my chest tightened. I listened. Then I heard her again, crying for help, this time from the left side, deep in the woods near a cornfield. Without thinking too much, I grabbed a baton from the back seat, just in case, and ran toward the sound. I called out, "Who's out there?" The woman immediately answered, terrified, "Please help me." I told her to keep screaming so I could find her. She did. Every few seconds, another scream for help. I ran deeper and deeper into the woods, forcing myself through bushes and twigs, desperate to reach her. But the closer I got, the screams never changed. No matter how fast I ran, no matter how straight I went, the sound stayed the exact same distance. If anything, it felt like it wasn't getting closer at all. That's when my mind started to change. I started feeling like I wasn't hunting someone in danger. I was being pulled into something. Like I was walking into a trap. I shouted louder, trying to break through the fear. Then, about 5 seconds later, she screamed again. Same voice. Same volume. Same distance. My stomach dropped. I turned around and ran back toward my car. And the whole time, I still heard her. But she still sounded the same, like she could never get closer no matter how far I moved. When I finally saw my headlights again, flashing through the trees, I ran straight to the car and drove away like my life depended on it. Because at that point, it did. I called 911 to report what happened, in case the authorities could investigate. I didn't stick around. I was too freaked out and exhausted, so I just moved on with my life, like maybe it was stress. Then a week later, I saw something on the news. A woman in her 30s, dead, was found in the woods. No obvious signs of foul play. And the location? It was the same general area where the screams came from. And I sat there, watching the news, feeling sick. Because how many coincidences like that happen in one lifetime? Story 2, the overheating truck and the man outside the window. Now let me switch to another night. A different place. A different kind of terror. I was driving from Brooklyn to Vermont to meet my friend's cabin for a weekend of snowboarding. At the time, I had 2 vehicles. A 2013 BMW 3 Series and a 2006 Ford F-150. That night, I was driving the truck. I had my snow gear in the bed. It was late, around 1 a.m., pitch black on those roads, and it was snowing. No other cars around. And I had just picked the truck up from the mechanic because I'd been having issues with it for weeks. So of course. Right then, on the quietest stretch of road possible, the engine started overheating, red line. I slowed down and pulled over. I waited for it to cool. But when I tried again, the temperature jumped back into the red immediately. I had to shut the engine off. I opened the hood and tried to diagnose the problem in the dark. In snow, without enough visibility to see clearly. And to make it worse, my phone reception was basically non-existent. I couldn't rely on help from my carrier. So I called my friend John. But the only way forward was to get a tow. I tried once more to start the truck and drive. Same overheating problem. I was stuck. So I waited on the side of the road with the truck idling, trying to keep it warm. Then I saw a car pass. So I turned on my hazards and waved. A guy in a small Toyota stopped. He had bars. Like he was local. I asked if I could use his phone. I called John and told him my exact location. He said he'd come pick me up. But also told me to call a nearby towing company and wait. So I called the towing company. The guy stayed with me while I made the calls. I tried not to look at him too much. But it was like something was off. Like he wasn't just helping, he was there for a reason. After I finished, I gave him the phone back. He nodded and drove off into the dark. His tail lights disappeared below the hill. And I was alone again. Total blackness outside the windows. I looked out and couldn't see more than a few feet. I played games on my phone for a bit. Anything to stop my brain from imagining the worst. Then, bang! At my passenger side window. I jumped so hard my heart nearly left my body. I looked out. The headlights barely reached the edges of the truck. I couldn't see a face clearly. Just a shape. A man's voice, begging for help. Please open the door. I'm lost. I'm freezing. At first, it almost sounded believable. But something about it didn't feel right. I asked what was wrong. He said he was stranded. Then he started trying to force the door. Aggressively, like he didn't care if I was afraid. I stayed locked in. I tried to think of a way to test him. Something only a real stranded person would know. But he didn't wait. He began pounding harder. Trying to break the window. That's when I decided to trust my gut. I put the truck into drive. He realized what I was doing and kept pounding like he was trying to force his way in. So I drove away. Even though I knew I was probably damaging the overheating engine. Then I crested the hill and saw something that made my stomach drop. In the distance on the side of the road, I saw the reflection of approaching tail lights. And when they got closer, I realized it was the same Toyota I had seen earlier. Only, when I glanced toward it, it seemed empty. No person inside. Then I looked behind the car. My headlights caught footprints in the snow. Tracks leading from that Toyota to where I had been hearing the pounding. Meaning, that stranded man wasn't stranded. He was bait. And the car wasn't gone. It was part of the plan. I drove past, keeping my speed up, not caring about the engine anymore. A few minutes later I saw headlights coming, real ones this time. The tow truck. I flashed my lights, and they stopped. The driver came out and asked if I was okay. I told him what happened. He joked about arriving at the right time. Then he asked the question that instantly made my blood run cold. Did the guy have a gun? I couldn't tell. Because in the dark, I couldn't see enough. But now I wasn't doubting anything. The tow took about 15 minutes. And during that time, the Toyota never passed. It didn't approach again. So I can only assume he changed plans, turned around and left. Because he didn't get what he wanted. I used the tow truck driver's phone to call John again, and John told me where to meet him. We still went snowboarding that weekend. And later, the mechanic fixed the issue. It was a broken water pump causing the overheating. But I sold that truck a few weeks later, and I still thank whatever kept me alive that night. Because if I had lowered my window, if I had unlocked the doors, I don't even want to imagine what would have happened. Story 3, The Man with the Tarp. My next story happened when I was 17. Back when I was dating my first girlfriend. We both worked day shifts. I at a grocery store, she at Starbucks. Our schedules lined up, and we had barely any homework. One Friday, we went on a cheap date to a small restaurant. After that, we went to her house. We planned to do a night drive, just to get out of the house and feel normal. We drove around town, then down an empty road in the woods until the pavement ended. The road turned into dirt. We stopped to pee, like idiots in the dark, thinking nothing could happen. That's when we smelled it. A foul, indescribable smell. So bad my girlfriend gagged. We both rushed it and got back in the car. We tried to get away. But then, we heard a twig snapping noise. It sounded like someone was close by. My girlfriend and I panicked and ran back to the car immediately. Right after we got back, we heard a scream. Not an animal sound. A human scream. Fear or pain. And the worst part? It sounded like it came from the exact direction where we had stopped. My girlfriend begged me not to go. But I was scared, and also confused. So I grabbed my phone's flashlight and took a picture. Flash on, like I was trying to prove I wasn't imagining it. The moment the flash hit, I saw a man. A man in a white shirt with black stripes. And something blue, like a tarp, near him. He wasn't crouched like an injured person. He was standing. Just there. Like he was waiting. We didn't even talk about it. We got back in the car, locked the doors, and drove away as fast as we could. We spent the rest of the night at her place, both shaken. And to this day, it still makes me wonder. If he wasn't trying to hurt anyone, why did he look like he was positioned exactly where he could catch someone off guard? And why did the smell feel like warning? Story 4, The Bloody Woman with the Knife. This one happened in 2011. I was 19, and I was hanging out with my best friend, who was younger than me. We lived in a rural area near the mountains, southwestern Virginia. Around here, everything shuts down early. So at night, you either go home, or you get creative. We did the usual things, malls, cruising for a bit, bowling, walking around Main Street close to midnight. Then after that, we drove backcountry roads. We weren't looking for trouble. We were just trying to have fun and act tough. But late night drives in the woods can change you fast. We turned onto a dirt road that was washed out in heavy rain, and it was slower, more isolated. Trees everywhere. No people. Just silence. At one point, we saw a light under someone's porch. A man standing completely still, motionless under the light. His head followed us as we passed. Not normal, standing outside energy. More like watching. So we sped up and kept moving. Then after a while, we reached Hardtop Road again, felt like we could breathe. We went to turn back toward the highway near my house. And that's when my headlights caught something up ahead. At first we thought it was a deer. Because deer are everywhere and they're dangerous at night. But it was too white. Like it was the wrong color. As we got closer, we realized. It wasn't a deer. It was a person. Hunched over, walking in the left lane, against traffic, like it didn't care about anything. When she turned and we saw her face. It looked aged. Deep eye sockets. Heavy dark bags under her eyes. Greasy hair. White shirt. White pants. And there was blood, everywhere. Not just a stain. Like she'd been dragged or harmed. In one hand, she held something that looked like a knife. And the way she moved. The way she waved her arms frantically. It didn't look like an accident. It looked like she was trying to get someone's attention. Trying to pull someone in. We didn't wait. We floored it and sped away to the highway. What should have been a short drive became a 35-minute detour. We were terrified she would follow. And when we searched local news afterward. Nothing. No report. No explanation. Fast forward to today. There was a massive drug and fighting ring busted in that area. And I've wondered ever since. Was that porch watcher somehow connected? Was that where she came from? And if I saw her again, would I run? Or would I freeze? Because that night didn't feel random. It felt like the woods had rules we didn't understand. All 4 of these experiences changed the way I see the dark. Because the truth is, sometimes danger doesn't come with footsteps and obvious threats. Sometimes it comes with screams that never get closer. Or with a lost man who's not really lost at all. Or a body frozen in news reports that match the place you ran from. And every time you think it's over, the night reminds you it can still pull you back in. So if you're ever driving somewhere quiet, somewhere isolated, somewhere empty, keep your doors locked. Trust your gut. And never assume the woods are empty. Just because you can't see anyone.